Yeah, we didn't really get into touching on deep research yet. And, I want to make everybody aware of what that is, just so we can dive into this a little bit more, because that's an area that I find it extremely useful to kind of do this. Numerous conversations with AI and breaking those conversations apart to get to the result. So deep research is a functionality that's available on most of your major AI models. And it is a functionality that brings together a higher level of reasoning with accessibility to the internet and a greater knowledge base. So if I am looking to figure out how to do XYZ, I can go in and I always start with an early AI conversation to help develop the prompt. I'll say, hey, I'm looking, can you help me make a deep research prompt? I am attempting to do this. I am trying to get this kind of output, and what are my goals? What is some context that's going to help it be useful? And then I have it generate a deep research prompt. And then I will go, and this ties in a little bit to what we were just mentioning with that multi-step, is I will use a bunch of tools. I will use ChatGPT. I will use Gemini. I will use Perplexity. And I will toss it in, my query in there, and I will have them all do deep research. And so that deep research query takes a little bit to run, but it's going out and it's looking across web pages. It's pulling information together. It's applying reasoning to it to figure out, what do I have to know before I can take the next step with what they're wanting. So, it might scan 100 different websites to gather information that it needs to know and see available tools or resources that are out there, and then come back with this nice, sometimes extremely lengthy result that you look at. It's like, okay, now I need AI to summarize that pretty much. But what I'll regularly do is I will run numerous tools doing a deep research chat. I will take all of that, I'll export it all like the PDF, and then I'll usually go back to OpenAI, because I do tend to find I like it the best for a general purpose. Claude has some good use cases. Gemini is getting better and better, although they had a recent update that they had some problems with. But I will take all those deep research exports, I will put them in, and I'll be like, examine all of this data, summarize, take the best across all of these reports to bring me what is, the best solution or the best process to address this. And summarize the information, of course, speaking to, my knowledge base, so that you're explaining it to me in ways that I understand. And then I'll get an output from that. And then I might do different things with that. But when I'm doing something complex, there can be 5 or 6 different AI conversation threads going on across 3 or 4 different, AI models, all for the sake of trying to get, greater perspective based, because the different tools have different strengths and weaknesses. And as I bring that together, sometimes there's ideas that came up over here that are supplemented by, some tools or links that it found over here. And it kind of brings that together and helps me kind of dive to a solution. And then I interrogate it. And I was like, hey, what about this? Or what about this? Or, I just dive in and I have a conversation like it's a coworker who, had done all this research. And in the end, I can get some, pretty amazing results from that. But you have to take the time. It's still a lot faster than doing all the work manually, and you get better outcome. But, don't try to think that AI is just your 10-second solution tool where I'm just going to pop in a sentence and, get my revolutionary output. Again, that artist with the chisel is taking his time, and he gets great results. And so we can as well, as we use these tools and learn how to use their strengths and weaknesses to produce the kind of output we're looking at.
And one thing I do want to say is if you hear Steve talking about using multiple, LLMs, and, you don't have to start there. He's an expert. He's been doing this for a long time, but, just get started. That's the one thing that I would tell you, just start using it. You start exploring it, but don't just use it and, start asking yourself, how could I use it better? Start to incorporate, find new tips and ways in which to work with it. And things are going to be changing. You have to understand that it's changing every week. And one of the things we talked about, chain of thought, there are different types of models. And I just kind of want to bring this up, that there's something called zero shot prompting. If you've never heard that term, which basically you put in an answer and you get an answer back, right? And you see it kind of write it out on the screen. But imagine if you were writing a report and never backspaced. How good would that report be, right? And if you see some of the output from ChatGPT the first time, you're like, that's pretty good. It's a pretty amazing. But if it had some time to think about it, oftentimes you can get even better results. And so there are what are called thinking models that they're coming out that they're kind of different, that are using almost behind the scenes chain of prompt type of reasoning. You don't have to go and do it yourself. It will actually do it behind the scenes, and you can actually see the way that it's thinking. Like you were talking about DeepSeek. And so there are different types of models. So if you go into ChatGPT and you see all these, there's this, you can select the different models. There are different reasons to select different models. Oftentimes, most people right now are using 4.0, but you could go to 3.0, I think it is, and it's a thinking model. There are other ones as well that might be able to get you different or better results depending upon what you're working on. Just wanted to kind of bring that up, so something, as you're going through the process of utilizing AI more, you'll know where to start to look.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at first, when we were starting to see some of these AI models being released, it was an interesting back and forth. You would see substantial improvements with a particular model that, say, OpenAI is releasing with ChatGPT, or you'd see Anthropic, putting out a new version of Claude that was substantially better. And then so it was just like back and forth. This one's better than this one's better than this one's better. But we've kind of seen, although there's still development and new models coming forth, they each have their purpose. I don't think we're seeing some of the giant leaps right now. So you don't have to be keeping aware of it in quite the same way, unless you're in the industry, unless you're fascinated by it. But your standard models that you're going to be using through like ChatGPT are really, really good right now. And they're getting better, but it's a slower, more incremental improvement at this point. There's some stuff on the horizon that keeps some people up at night that is going to really revolutionize things, but we're not quite there yet.
And I think for most people, the models are getting to a point where they're good enough. Where even if you got a better model, you could be like, I don't notice a difference, because they're more than good enough for what you're doing at the moment.